Election reform might be dividing the country right now, but in Kentucky, lawmakers have found common ground. Democratic Governor Andy Beshear is expected to sign the state's newest election reform bill into law today. It's a rare moment of bipartisanship for an issue that has become a national point of political contention. NBCNews.com senior political reporter Jane Timm joins us now. So, Jane, let's start with what's in this bill and how Kentucky's lawmakers satisfied both Republicans and Democrats here.
Hey, Joe. Now, reading through the bill, what's clear is they put something in there for everyone. So it expands early voting, which is, of course, a big issue for Democrats, whereas other states are considering mail voting. They've added 3 days of early voting, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before an election. And it also adds an ability to cure absentee ballot mistakes, which is something Kentucky voters were able to do in the pandemic. And this makes it permanent. It creates an online portal for requesting mail ballots, and it allows drop boxes. But you'll notice there's things in there for the Republicans, too. So those drop boxes, which are being eliminated around the country in some of these restrictive laws, they say, OK, you can use them, but it has to be in a well-lit area. And we're going to put it under video surveillance to keep things safe. So you're seeing that everyone gets to go home with something to their constituents.
Ah, bipartisanship. What a refreshing thing to hear about. Jane, let's look at the corporate pressure on the new restrictive voting laws in Georgia. Republican lawmakers are now criticizing Major League Baseball's decision to move the All-Star game from Georgia to Colorado. They're drawing a comparison between the two states' voter ID laws. Can you tell us more about those laws, and are they similar, and how are they different?
You know, the spirit of Colorado's elections could not be more different to Georgia's elections. Colorado's voter ID allows you to use a paycheck, utility bill, the kind of things that you usually use to get a library card. This is what we call a non-strict voter ID law, whereas Georgia has one of the strictest voter ID laws in the country, where typically you're going to need a driver's license to vote. Colorado's laws are elections are run almost entirely by mail, whereas Georgia is adding restrictions to how they vote by mail. These are very, very different states. And the argument that there's both voter ID is pretty specious.
Of course, every state's not like Colorado. Now, Jane, Republicans are also taking aim at voting laws in New York and New Jersey. Do those states deserve that kind of criticism?
You know, it's funny. I called a couple of voting rights advocates about this, and they all kind of bristled at this comparison, because they were like, yes, and New York. We also want to make changes to New York law. If you voted in New York before, you know that we've had historically some of the more regressive election laws. Lawmakers have been trying to make those laws better. We recently added early voting. They're building an automatic voter registration in the state. So while the past criticism is probably fair, and New York has had a history of discriminating against minority voters as well, it was also under Section 5 protection of the Voting Rights Act up until that was eliminated. So there's comparisons here. This isn't a blue state, red state thing. This is a rights issue.
All right, Jane Timm, thank you for breaking it down for us. We appreciate it.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.